Okay, so today is Saturday. It is like 8:20 a.m. and it is the random word generator part of the day. And the word that came up was the word defeat. Retreat. A tasty, morbid little treat. I'm looking to pick up trash to find a receipt. I have found that in doing couplet rhymes, it's much easier to visualize something in my mind or look at something, and as I'm looking at it and talking, oftentimes a word just appears out of the ether or into my mind that rhymes with the original word. Case in point, I was trying to come up with a word that rhymed with defeat, couldn't, other than conceit. Did I say that word? I don't think I did. I said retreat and a morbid treat, but it was only when I looked down at trash that something I saw on the ground was a little piece. It was something white, and I went to go look at it in my mind and imagining myself picking it up, and as I did, my mind thought of, oh, it's white, it's rectangular, it has like a paper look or feel to it. It kind of looks like a receipt. And so then I came up with that word. Anyways, the word today is defeat. And I'm going to tell a story. That story is the great defeat I had on my mission. Okay, I am about a year into my mission. 4 transfers in a city called Polswoli. And at this time, Lexi and I were kind of on the rocks in our relationship. I hadn't heard from her in several weeks. The work was difficult. We weren't getting a lot done. I knew how much time and suffering had happened in the last year, and future casting myself out another year, I thought there's no way I'm going to be able to endure another year of this. I'm counting down the days. Nothing is going right in my mind, and I'm starting to feel bitter. I'm starting to be like, why are you doing this, God? I'm doing everything right. I'm writing letters to Lexi. I am, I prepaid for 2 years worth of flowers to be sent to her on all these different special dates. I had done all this different stuff. I was on a mission. I was being obedient, all of this different stuff. And it got to a point where I hit a breaking moment. And I was like, just F it. I'm not going to do this anymore. So for like a whole month in the middle of the summer, I remember this, I was with one of my companions who now is like one of my closest friends, Anciano Cuellar. And he and I basically for a month went totally apostate. We got iPads, we got small little iPods back then from the US base. We had a lot of American ward members in the Polswoli branch who would come over from the base. And so they had access to a lot of like Americanized stuff at almost like a cost. So we sent money to some American members. They went to their base. They bought us iPods. We downloaded emulator apps and we played Pokemon in Italian version on these iPods all day long. We would wake up and we would just play video games on these tiny little pods as we would travel to the church. And then once we got to the church, we would hack the Wi-Fi. We'd break into the bishop's room. We'd hack the Wi-Fi, and then we'd watch free streaming, like blacklisted free streaming TV shows. And we did this for a straight month. Like, we did nothing other than just like waste time. And after I had done that for a month, so first I hit this breaking point and I'm like, F it, I'm not gonna even do this anymore. It's not even worth it. Where's the reward? Where's the blessings? I'm working so hard for this, F it. And then I spend this month just dedicated to like screwing around, being the prodigal son, going off on my own deal. I then was like, I'm like, I've been seeking out pleasure for a month now, and I can't even do this for another 11 months. And that's when I hit, I would say, the real wall of this moment of defeat. And I remember looking at this computer in the bishop's office, and totally zoned out, totally desensitized, and just felt this urge to get up, leave the room, walk out onto the balcony. And this balcony overlooks this peninsula. This like, it has these like beautiful like vestige of ocean plus a peninsula. And then it has beneath the church balcony, it has all of these houses that go down on like a slant. It's not a cliff, but it's like a rolling slant. It's picturesque, right? I flip my legs over the balcony and I sit there, and for like 15 minutes, I go nuclear. I fucking hate you, God. You're a fucking like insult. I hate this mission. I fucking hate you. I'm fucking hate everything about this. Where the fuck are you? I'm doing everything fucking right. And I don't swear. I rarely use profanity. I feel it is a lower level of computing when it comes to vocalizing that which you're thinking. And so for me to break character and just explode, go all in on God, I am screaming at God in English, right? We've got neighbors in apartment complexes that are like hanging up their clothes on laundry and stuff. Just like, Jesus, what is that? That missionary is crazy. Right? I start spitting like Italian profanity at him and like, just go crazy, right? So for like 15 minutes, I cuss out God. And I cuss out God so much, I lose my voice. Later, I have to spend like a week basically recovering because I go all out and I just strain my voice. And after spending 15 minutes at the top of my lungs, verbally just attacking and abusing God, I'm spent. Emotionally, there's nothing left. I threw it all out on God. And it was in that moment that I remember getting this like very, very, very still small voice in my heart. And it said, "Are you done?" And I remember taking in a deep breath, looking back up at the sky and saying, "No, fuck you, your church, fuck this gospel. I don't care if lightning strikes me right now. I hate you." And then turned around and left back into his church to continue watching pirated TV streams in the bishop's office. Okay, the point I'm trying to make is this. It was at that defeat where that was really my breaking point, where I got to a point where everything went nuclear. I exploded. I threw it all on the table and was like, I don't care where the pieces land. Screw it. It's going to be a whole lot better than whatever this is right now. That actually put me into mental and a spiritual place to be receptive to real change and then circumvent all of the obstacles that I was going through to transform that defeat into, I would say, one of my greatest victories. And I wouldn't even say it was mine. It was one of the greatest victories of my life, thanks to God. A month later, within the next week, I get on a call with the mission president, President Kelly. I tell him what's going on, how frustrated and how angry I am and how defeated I feel. And in 3 weeks later, the transfer ends. I get my first greenie I become a elder companion. I spend another 5 transfers in Pozzuoli, and it's like parabolic transformation after parabolic transformation after parabolic transformation. Everything is going right, and it's just following the Spirit into these new insights and new revelations and these new transformations that are happening on the monthly, weekly, daily, sometimes even minute by minute basis. And the next year flies by. The last 6 months of my mission were some of the most evolving, transformative months of my life. It made up for the first 18 months, I would say, of just brutality and true, I would say, true suffering, because it was just so pure and so personal, that it was when I got to that defeat. Man, it's 11 minutes. This is supposed to go for 3 to 5 minutes. But in taking that random word, defeat, when you get to a place where you feel defeated, I think it's really a moment where you can ask yourself, am I truly defeated now? And if not, is there a little bit more that I can do? Is there a little bit more that I can do until you really do hit that breaking point, that truly defeated breaking point? And I think at that point, all of us have a true, intimate, personal connection with God, that at that moment, we should let it all out and we should submit. Or in my case, totally be raw and authentic and explode at God, because He can handle it. He can take whatever you can throw at Him and just absorb it and use that as fuel to be able to actually connect with you even more. And so you should get to these defeated moments, these moments where we're like, oh, I can't do this anymore. And then ask yourself, can I though? Can I just do a little bit more and keep pushing it until you really hit that truly defeated moment where you hit a real breaking point, and then just you're stripped down to your essence and just be who you are. If you're someone who just needs to fall apart and cry, you fall apart and you cry in front of God. If you're someone like me who goes nuclear and just absolutely explodes, do that in front of God. Even do it at God, because it's going through that like moment of suffering. You could say like a temporary moment of being on the cross or in the Garden of Gethsemane, where it's like true suffering. Truly, I cannot do this anymore. I really cannot do this anymore. And just let it all out. That it's where God goes, okay, now I can shape you. Now I can shape the environment and I can conform it to a more ideal and better state for you to become who I know you can become. And it is through going through that valley of death, that real defeat, that on the other side leads to a monumental transformation and a closer proximity to the one end-all be-all energy, the universe, God, Elohim, whatever you want to call Him. And I look at defeat, and although really painful and difficult, I don't do it consciously, but looking at defeat as a form of like, ooh, this is actually getting me closer. This is actually me getting closer to God. How do I push it just a little bit further until you hit that real moment, that real breaking point of defeat, and then go even further through that you then break through. You have this a breaking point. It's really just breaking the mold to let God in and help rescue you, to then transform and even resurrect you into a higher order, higher evolved, transformed version of who you were meant to be. But first you have to approach defeat like that. And then you have to just, broken down in your essence, be authentic, be you in front of God. Like remove the veil and be you in front of God. And then after you are so spent, you then no, not you, but then the universe, God, karma, whatever you want to call it, then can come in, reshape, and mold you to transform you into something greater. Accept defeat and embrace it until the point where you hit that breaking point. Then express yourself authentically to God. And through that, you'll have, in the unveiling of yourself to God, you will then have your own temporary moment of resurrection, transfiguring you into a more evolved, more beautiful, more sacred version of yourself. That could only happen once you hit defeat. And that is the random word generator for today. 15 minutes and 45 seconds. Defeat.